Orbital water drink. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Going Over podcast. No longer Going Over podcast. It is the Going Over podcast. We're on a new channel. Get your asses over there. Hit that subscribe button. I got so many friends on Facebook, but are you really my friends? And who am I? I'm your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, and 44-year-old professional wrestler, Zacky, Primetimey Reeb, Zack Reeb. And I'm joined alongside, as always, my podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. And Paul, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much. This is it's a late night here on a Wednesday, middle of the week. I do what I do, so often, which is donate my time to the community to, kind of give back to a community that I was treated so well by when I was playing basketball here. So volunteering our times at the baseball games, doing concessions. So getting home late, though, baby. Getting home late.
The old nacho mama man over here. Paul, here, let me drop this cheese from 7 feet up on these stale tortilla. Crack, 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 crack. Here we go. You know, brother, today I wanted to get started on a actual topic here. And it's something I noticed. We're getting back to editing matches. We put our first match up here tonight. Nash, Sergio, Big Shaq, Daddy putting in some work, man. We appreciate the 5 years that Doc Haywood was on the program knocking stuff out. But, one thing I've noticed it for a while, and it's something I've really noticed in my matches lately, and it's something I've noticed in a lot of matches is a lot of matches are getting a quick pop at the end, but they're not getting the reaction that they need. And these finishes, right? I wanted to talk about finishes today and pulling these things off, because these finishes are just they're so fast, man. They're just so fast. There's no drama to it. We always say, like, everybody always says falsies or near falls and stuff like that. And I get it with the moves and everything, but we have to create more drawn out moments. We've got to slow it down for the crowd so they can dissect everything that we're trying to tell them. We talk about how the finish is the most important part of this match, right? We had the Ballards, Shannon and Shane, on here telling us the finish starts at the comeback, or the finish in a tag or multi whatever starts at the hot tag. And although that is very true, I wanted to get in and really dive into and break down the actual finish of the match. What's your what right here? What do you think as we're going to be moving along here? We got an hour to talk about this. I think we're going to be able to stretch it an hour, but we'll probably get off topic and start talking about some other shit. But let me hear your thoughts on what I'm talking about here, big man.
Well, it's very simplistic. I mean, we've talked about it a bunch of times, and we talked about how you could have a match full of botches or full of poor storytelling, and if you pull off a good finish, that's all people remember, right? They go home and they go, man, you remember how that match ended, right? So a lot of times, I think we overlook that stuff. We concentrate on the, trying to put cool moves throughout the match and get the oh shit moments and the holy shit chants and things like that. And, everybody's kind of chasing that, clout chasing a little bit when it comes to trying to do cool moves. But, we often overlook what the fans are going to go home and remember, which is the finish. How did the ending of the match make you feel? Did you go home happy? because your the person you were cheering for won? Did you go home pissed off because your favorite got screwed, or something bad happened? Your favorite didn't pull off a victory. How did that make you feel? And we always talk about storytelling. And it's the culmination of the story, right? We're trying to get to the finish of this thing where the fans can get excited or be pissed off or whatever, and you're really trying to put them on that emotional roller coaster, and that's the exclamation point to the sentence, basically. So super important. We need to not overlook that, and we need to put. We talk about when we're putting together a match. I was actually just thinking about this the other day, how we like to work backwards. We go, hey, here's what I think we should do for the finish, right? And then we'll work backwards from there. And I remember you talking about Ollie was asking guys about what's your finish? Oh, we haven't got there yet. Well, damn, guys, what the fuck are we doing? You should start with the finish. Let's work backwards. Let's figure out what we want to do at the end here, and then we'll fill in the blanks, right? That way we can kind of go, hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to end it. How are we going to tell the story throughout the match, right? Let's structure this so we can get to the culmination of what's going on. So super important. Not to go on a rant or tangent, but super important. We should be working backwards from the finish and figuring out what we do in the rest of the match from there.
But we got a lot to dive into about the finish, and a lot I want to dissect that I don't think a lot of people are even thinking about. And that is why we make that claim to be experts, and in this informative podcast, giving back to not just the young wrestlers or aspiring wrestlers or fans who want to listen, but already professional wrestlers. And one thing is, so first off, we're putting somebody's been cut off, somebody's been stopped, right? Like a bad guy is beating up a good guy, and all the good guy is trying to do, he's not trying to do moves, he's trying to get himself back up to a vertical base and shake off. He's just trying to shake off that beating so he can get his bearings back and get on his feet and get the heel moving backwards, get the heel off balance. That's what he's trying to do. And the heel is trying to make sure that he doesn't get there. And that's the whole point to where we're trying to get. But first off, in this one-on-one contest, the comeback, man. I mean, we've hit something, we've done something, we've moved, the heel is hit, the heel's rattled for a second, and then the heel starts to look around and realize, oh shit, there's finally some separation between us, and that baby face is almost back to his feet. And it's a thing I hate in the comeback, and this is where we're going to the finish, but it's a thing I hate is like, if I'm pulling myself up and the heel sees me and he's like, oh shit, I got to go get a hold of this guy real quick. It's me hitting one desperation shot and I'm down, like I'm lower. And then the heel gets back up and comes charging because I'm still selling a little bit, and I pop myself back up and I hit something else. And then now I'm midway up, and then he comes again, and that's when I hit something big on him, and now I'm back to my feet, my energy's back up, and now I'm gonna start in on this fucking I'm gonna start in on this heel, almost like I was at the start when I was shining, but now I'm getting a lot more because I'm back in the ball game. And somewhere in this, the heel is gonna hit something on me. He's gonna get something on me eventually as we're back and forth. And that's why people call it a double down. But when the heel finally hits me with something big right there, my energy has been low, and I've been working to try to get it back up. I finally got it back up. I've exerted a lot of tired energy, 10, 15 minutes of wrestling a grown man. My energy is exerted, building myself back up to what I think is my final burst of adrenaline to put this guy away. And I get hit with something. Now I'm back down. So what I'm saying is, in the finish, we need to slow these finishes down, because we're treating these finishes like we're fresh. The finishes are happening so fast, like we're fresh, and we need to realize what draws the finish out, what makes it come out of nowhere, what really gets that close fall. I don't want to call it the near fall. I don't want to call it the false finish. I'm going to call it the close fall, so we can wipe away all what do you call it? You know, the debate on if it's a near fall or a false finish. We've done this one before, and I've made some points about it, but we get to the end of the match and it shouldn't be fast. We're tired, man. We've been punching and kicking and wrestling a grown man and slamming and landing on the mat and having a guy land on us and wear us down. And we should be tired at the end of this match, man. So I've really been watching a lot of finishes lately. And it's like, once the comeback happens, the fucking finish just is this high-paced fucking thing all the way to the end. And it's like, no, that's not how it really would work. I watched Sean Strickland and Hamzat fight for the title on UFC, and it's like, man, 25 minutes into this fight, they were getting fatigued through the middle. They had a burst of energy, which was almost like a comeback in rounds 3 and 4. But by the time they're at round 5, these guys are busted open and bleeding, and their face is hamburger meat, and they're throwing their blows and everything else and trying to get takedowns. But even a high-level wrestler can't get a takedown on this guy because he doesn't have as much drive anymore, man. So, like, I really want to – let's break it down. Let's really break it down into the effect of all the things we talk about. But let's pretend that we have just ran a fucking marathon, and now we're going to get in a fight with one of the contestants at the end. This isn't going to be one hell of a show that these two marathon runners at the end that are now going to get in a squabble or a fist fight or a wrestling match. It's not going to be fast paced and exciting. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, you think about, you're talking about marathon runners, and I don't know how many clips I've seen just recently as well of marathon runners, just like they are completely out of gas, right? Their body is not functioning very well, and they're having trouble even getting to the finish line. So when you're talking about getting almost done with a marathon, you think about, obviously in that case you're around 26 miles, but we talk about the type of cardio that you have to have in a pro wrestling match versus any other type of cardio. You think about these guys that go and they put all this time in the gym, and their cardio is top notch, and they get into a wrestling ring and they get blown up, right? Because it's a completely different cardio, and you get into those situations where you got to dig deep, and you're out of energy at the end of a match, and it should be reflected in the action. The action should reflect that you are, your energy is almost diminished at this point. You're on fumes. You're functioning. You're getting those little bursts of adrenaline, but it's definitely gonna be tired punches. They're not going to have as much of effect. You're not going to be the snap isn't going to be on those punches. The snap isn't going to be on the kicks. You're not going to be as powerful. With your hips on throws and things like that. So all of these things should be taken into account. But as you were talking, man, it's reminiscent of people talking about Bret Hart, right? Getting deep into a match and how fatigued he would look, and people are like, he's not blown up, but he's doing a great job of making you feel that he's blown up, that he's out of energy, that he's just, reaching down for every last bit of energy that he can muster, right? You're just trying to get all of that stuff. And, that is very infrequently reflected in the end of matches. We are, like you said, you feel like it has to be 100 miles an hour at the finish, and in reality, we're trying to make it look like this is a realistic fight. And you're talking about these UFC guys being in the fifth round, right? So these guys are um, you know 25, 20, whatever, creeping up on the end of these fights as far as the minutes, and their energy is completely gone, and they're just scrapping for every little thing. You make the argument about a high class wrestler taking a shot where in theory you should be able to take that shot and take someone down, but you just don't have the explosiveness. Your muscles are fatigued. Your body is on empty at this point, and we just need to reflect that in the end of these matches, and make sure the crowd can kind of understand what's going on. I'm fatigued. I'm trying my best, but it's just not like the beginning of the match. And you're drawing those comparisons to what we're doing wrong is we're making it look like it's the beginning of the match and we've got full energy, which we shouldn't. So
what if we can't climb to the top rope? What if we're trying to climb to the top rope and we have to come back down and okay, it's the same thing we do when we lift weights. It's the same thing we do if we're trying to climb a rope or pull up. Sometimes you don't get it on the first try. And that's the problem with what is going on with the wrestling, where the believability stops, is everybody always makes it on the first try. I'm going to run and do a dive out through the middle rope, but someone's going to forearm me and catch me. But then something's going to happen and then I'm going to end up hitting the dive out right afterwards. It's like sometimes you just don't. Sometimes you just don't make it. I'm going to go to suplex you, or maybe I body slam you deep in the contest and I fall back into the ropes and I have to pull myself up to try to get that cover. And because I was fatigued and fell back into the ropes for a second or two, it's okay to sell fatigue for a second or two, because we're beating the guy with 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. So in turn, if I hit you with the super kick and I fall back into the ropes and I 1, 2, and I pull myself up and dive on a cover, it's a 5 or 6 count that the guy had to recover down there. I want to see some guys, and I try to pride myself on doing it when I get covered in the match. If it's a type of a situation where I'm supposed to be down, where I'm out cold and the guy covers me and I hear 1 and I open my eyes and wake up, and when 2 hits, I look over, oh shit. You know what I mean? Just the detail in the referee hitting 1 and yelling 1 opens my eyes. And now I'm looking around and I hear 2 hit the mat. Like, where am I? And I look like, oh shit, I need to kick out. The realism of it in the finish, and slow it down. It was one thing that I noticed, and it's the easiest example for me to talk about, is the finish that I had in Red Bluff. And it was like, I kick Cordero because he tells me no when I tell him to change the rules, because I'm the boss. That's my character. And when I knock him over, like as I kick him, I stop and the chair's falling slow. It was a hell of a sell. But as it's falling, it gives me time to turn back around and see it falling. And the fans, it let everything breathe as the sell's still happening. And then I take the chair, and it's not a folding chair. It's a one-piece chair. And I throw it over the top rope at Sparky, and it bounces around, and everyone's going, well, that's the wrong chair. You can't use that chair to hit him with. Well, I wasn't going to hit the fucker with the chair anyway, so it wouldn't matter if I had a sledgehammer. I'm going to have a moment where I'm standing there with this thing. But then I walk around out of anger and I grab a steel chair and throw it in. And then Spark leans his head through the ropes and goes, "Hey, you didn't make it a no DQ match." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm on my way." Cordero's still knocked out. Ring announcer's still knocked out. I've got all the time in the world right here. I got the guy selling in the corner. Don't matter what I throw in the fucking ring. I don't have to grab the microphone right away, and I can let all of this emotion breathe, right? Because now the best part about it is, and it was almost perfect, the kid's crying, "Please, coach, please." And now I'm goosebumped because I'm like, oh, this little fucker is giving me something here. He's giving me real emotion, and I got this chair, and now I can give him real emotion back. And we're just waiting for Jesse Garcia to come sprinting out to spear the shit out of me. You know, I seen him in my peripheral where he was coming from. And it's what are you doing with your characters too? We talked about this last week. I don't want to get too deep into it, but it was a prime example. Earlier in the night, I shoved Jesse in the match one off the top rope when he was wrestling Sergio. And then Sergio starts putting a whooping on him. Then we get the two, the VIP kids, Bam Bam, Barboza, and Valens in the ring. And we tell them to put the beating down because why would we waste our energy? And, Jalen came out. But what I'm getting at is, Jesse spears me and gets the heat back on me at the end of the night as the baby face for what I did as the heel to him, in the opening contest. And then when Sergio breaks up the count, he fights Sergio out the building. So two heels got over on the big baby face in match one and got some heat on him. At the end of the night, the big baby face comes back out and gets his heat back on the two heels that got his heat on him earlier. So you're running it back. It's okay to take away from somebody, but you got to give it back to them at the end of the night, and a lot of booking doesn't happen that way. A lot of guys are like, they would have had the beat down on this guy, but he never would have came back to get his heat back up in front of that town, in front of that audience. So, I mean, you really got to slow this thing down, and the different parts of the match, we have to learn to sell those parts as is, man. Like how would you really feel at this moment? You're 15 minutes into this match and you guys are still duking it out. You're not fresh as a fucking daisy. The fresh part is when you finally get broken away and you beat the heel to the punch and you start to build some momentum, but essentially your momentum is going to get stopped. And I watch a lot of finishes and the crowd, yay! But the really good ones that have that the fatigue and they're selling accordingly is the word I was looking for earlier. Those are the ones that really get the major reaction from the audience, because the audience has to be able to see what's going on. It's like a movie. Could you imagine going to a movie and some guy was sitting in your way and you couldn't see, or they sat you in a chair and the guy running the the projector down onto the screen had it half of the movie hanging off? You'd be like, "Hey, bro, what the fuck's going on here? I paid to see this movie and I can't see everything." And that's the same way the audience feels. That will dictate and determine if they come back. If I can't see everything that's going on and be a part of this, why the fuck would I want to come back?
Absolutely. It's, and I think it's a lot of this stuff is, I don't know if it just comes down to experience level. Like you don't have enough experience, you don't have enough reps to understand what's going on. You think about so many times where you get deep into the contest like that, and those things are affecting you, and you're letting things breathe, and you are in the moment, and it is very much, this is how I would be if I was 20 minutes into this match. And you're showing that, and it's, so I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just, we often talk about where you are on the card, and, when you get to that main event spot for the first time, you're going to make some mistakes because you've never been there before. You don't know how it's supposed to be. But, we should be trying to get the point across regardless of where we are in the card as far as, selling. And I think obviously that's just a huge issue in general. An overall issue is selling. We don't sell enough because I don't know what it is. We get too excited that now I get to be on offense. I get to be the guy giving the moves. Now all of a sudden I'm back to 100%. I'm not selling anymore. We talk about over and over about offensive selling. You're on the offensive, but you just got your ass kicked for 7-8 minutes or whatever, and you have to, that has to be reflected in your character, your actions, your mannerisms, all those things. But we don't do that. We just lose sight of it completely at times when now I'm on the offensive, right? Now I get to do my moves. I get to get all my shit in, right? And we just stop selling completely. And it takes away from the match, right? It takes away from the believability. You don't believe that you are fatigued because you're fighting back so much. You're in a hurry. You're doing things fast. You're wanting to get stuff in. You're not letting things breathe, like you said. It's a huge issue, and I don't know what the answer to that is. I think you have to have younger guys getting in there with older, more experienced guys that understand, guys that can go, hey, slow the fuck down, take a breath, sell, work the crowd right now, things like that. You think about, cases that you've had throughout your career where you've had those moments where you're like, hey, slow down, go sell or whatever. I was thinking about early on working Kratos. And I remember like how impressive he was with athleticism. He used to do the over the top rope dive, Undertaker style. And I remember him giving me that, like, I don't know, clotheslining me over the top or something. I land to my feet and he does the dive, right? And we're laying on the floor and I'm like, get up and fucking sell to the crowd right now. You just hit this huge move on me. I'm going to sell down for you. You need to get up and start working the crowd, right? Get them behind you. This is a huge part in the match, right? You're now on the offensive. You just got the upper hand. You need to take advantage of this. And, some of those times where you get to work with the younger guys and help them understand, like listening to the crowd. And when there are moments like that where you can take advantage of that and it's an opportunity to let everything breathe a little bit, let the fans react to it, take it in, understand what's going on. So, we have to get in those situations. We have to try to get in there. Obviously, I think you take pride in that when you get to work with a less experienced guy and you can go out there and you can, try to bring the best out in them. And I think that that's kind of our role as we get a little more advanced in the wrestling business here, is we try to take those guys under our wing and go, hey, let me work with that guy. I think I can get more out of them than he's showing or things like that. So trying to take advantage of some of those opportunities.
Well, we cannot build the future. We cannot build two big matchups. Like the big show, whatever your big show is going to be, that is where you're going to see the two veteran wrestlers clash on a big card. You don't want to see two veteran wrestlers clash on a smaller card, because then what you're doing is you're cheating the vehicle. You're cheating the avenue to get there. It's like when you look at the book and you go, all right, we just had this situation with Rick and Sin, so we should go right to the big match with Rick and Sin next show. No, we just had this situation with Dickie and Ethan with Reno, where he cost him the belt and he came back and it looked like he was going to help him. And, that was too fast. because I went back and watched the finish. I'm like, dude, you didn't even let him stand up. He didn't get to sell out towards you. The moment was supposed to happen in the middle of the ring. You hit him when he was still down. I actually went and I put that moment on for him, and we timed it, and it was like a little over a minute. I redid it for him and had him record it, and I did it, and it was 5 minutes when I did it. And I said, you were 4 minutes too fast. You missed. You didn't get all the emotion out of the crowd. It was the finish. You're coming back as a heel, And before I get a little further into what I was saying, you mentioned a dive out from Kratos. Well, I don't think they should dive out and land on you and then pop right up. I think they should dive out and land on you, and the audience should have 5 to 10 seconds to breathe in what they saw, recognize it, and they kind of quiet down, and then the baby face who dove jumps up to his feet like, I'm okay, and everyone goes, yay, he's fine. Just like on the movies, man. Just like on the movies, somebody does something and everyone stops and they're like, oh shit, they were swinging from the chandelier in the bar or whatever and they fell. Is he okay? And they jump up and they go, I'm fine. It's almost that moment where you have to sell the impact, whether the guy caught you or not. It's high risk. You're risking everything. But what I was getting into is, you think, okay, next show, Dickie versus Reno. Next show, Rick versus Sin. No. Now you have something. You have two angles here. You have two people. You can have a tag match. You can have the other two face each other. You can build up through this, and then you get to one big show, and then you finally have these two after 6 to whatever months, however long it takes. You finally have these two angles and these two different matches come together and collide. And people go, man, I've been waiting to see this. And it's something I had to slow down in my booking too, because I was like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I look at the card, and I sit here, and I'm really thinking about it, and I go, nah, it's too early to do that. Slow it down. Look at your cards, how you're booking them. Look at the finishes of your show, and you go, okay, I got this match right here. I can't have this match happen yet, because then I'd have two similar special stipulation matches on one show. Or if I give them this special stipulation match on this show, and then the next show I give them another big special stipulation match, then by the time we get to the third show, big show at this place, they're expecting another stipulation match. You got to spread them out. You got to spread these matches out. If you're going to give them no DQ, no count out, false count anywhere, steel cage, ladder match, fucking first blood match, whatever, give it, space it out. Space it out. Like if you're going to be at this venue 4 or 5 times, give them one and then wait 2 shows and then give it to them again like that. Because if you give it to them every show, they're going to expect it every show, and then it's going to lose its luster. It's like the table always break you. Okay, we know they're going to put them through the table. Who cares? We've seen everything you could do through that table. Now we've seen Logan Paul and I Show Speed or whoever we do. Fucking Javon Evans. They all jump from the top rope through the fucking table out there. It loses its... We've seen it. That's the problem with national television. It's like I said to someone the other day. You can tell people from WWE, the writers, you can tell they're people who went to school to be creative writers. Like okay, so you went to school to learn how to creatively write. Being an athlete, being charisma, creativity, those things are something you're born with. You just have. You go to school and learn how to fucking wrestle, don't mean you're an athlete. You can go to a promo class all day long and get better at cutting a promo. It don't mean you have natural charisma. And you can sit here all day long and learn how to creatively write a TV series or a storyline, but it doesn't mean you're creative. It just means you know the format of what you're fucking doing, and they taught you that at school. You know, you can be taught how to sing and not be the best singer in the world. You can taught how to do stand-up comedy and punchlines, but you might not be funny. You might not have the voice for radio. You know what I mean? Like they always say he's got a face for radio, but it's like creativity comes from within, man. You're born with it. Charisma, athleticism, these are things that you can't be taught. You know what I mean? It's something you naturally have. So you have fucking a creative writer, and let's not fail to forget this point. They don't know pro wrestling. How does somebody book pro wrestling if they don't know pro wrestling? How do you put together a pro wrestling show if you've never been in the pro wrestling business? I think Sergio said it today, bring back Freddie Prinze Jr. You know what I mean? It's like to even think that Freddie Prinze Jr. was writing Monday Night Raw storylines. It's like, that's the fucking problem. And the problem is what they're coaching at the schools. Oh, let's do all these rolling fucking off the rope. Let's do all these drills to blow people up. Okay, cool. I see what the drill is. And they get good at the roll and the bump and the leapfrog and all this, but they have no understanding of why you're doing it, where this fits into the context of the match. Is this in the heat? Is this in the comeback? How fatigued are they? Should you do this during the finish? They don't know how to get into it. If I got to see another fucking one-on-one fucking I've been getting my ass kicked for 5 minutes, and then I just hit a move on the guy, and now I'm back to my feet, and I'm just fucking fine. If I have to see another bad schoolboy roll up, another bad inside cradle, if I have to see another suplex where they zing the guy over too fast and the guy hits and then they hit. If I got to see this shit, if I got to see another air ball, it's like that's the advice I gave Lex Gonzalez the other day, and I give everybody this same advice. Take a piece of string and hang it down to about your arm from your doorway, and then hang one down to about your kneecap. And every day, just find the time to go in there and hit that string 100 times and kick that other string 100 times, just 100 apiece, 200 times. Find the time of day. You found time to play on your phone all day and make a bunch of posts. And when you hit that string enough times and it doesn't move and you're hitting it good, then you can come in the ring and hit me. And then your punches and your kicks are going to be fine. Then when you kick me in the head, you won't really kick me in the head and it'll look like you kicked me in the head. Then when you punch me, people won't say, I saw the air through that shit. And these are things. Teach them a proper comeback. Teach them to sell. Teach them to be fatigued. Teach them these things. And they're like, line up. We're going to run the old drop. We're going to run the old drop down leapfrog drill. Blow you up. I'm going to roll this way, and then you roll that way, and then you grab a tackle, shoot that. And it's like, that's cool and all, man, but you're leaving out the best part of wrestling. The sell. That's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to sell the fans to come back. And motherfuckers aren't selling.
Well, that's what we talk about all the time is not selling. You know, it's the broken record of pro wrestling is not selling enough, not registering stuff. That's why I think it's so important when you're doing stuff in a training environment to understand, where does this belong? I mean, you just said that. Where does this belong in the match? Why am I doing this? What effect am I going to have? Like, you know, I like to, and this is for me in everything, pro wrestling, basketball, all this stuff. When I'm coaching, it's like, you need to explain, like, where is this going to take place within the confines of the wrestling match? Where is this going to take place in the confines of the basketball game? Like, what potentially is going to be happening? Why are you doing this quote unquote drill, right? We're We're not doing a drill just to go through the motions, and do the drill, right? What was the you were just talking about how we were going to open this podcast, and I totally forgot the verbiage. But we're
Kids in routines.
yeah, we're not just doing this because it's the routine that we're doing. Um, we're doing this stuff because it is important to the match, right? It's a part of the match. This is what happened to lead to this, or this is what happened that this is going to lead to, right? This isn't a drill for the sake of doing drills, and we're just doing repetitions of routines. We are doing something that is directly correlated to some part of a wrestling match. Whether you set the situation up by, hey, you were just getting your ass kicked. So here's your, you get a little comeback here, or whatever, and then you get shut down, or whatever the situation may be. This isn't a drill just for the sake of the drill. This is a piece of a wrestling match, right? So, putting it in those type of terms, I don't think are the normal thing that happens in a wrestling school. It is obviously we see the videos of these things happening over and over, and it is very much a routine, a skit, whatever you want to call it. It's repetitive, right? Everybody's doing the same thing. They're doing the exact same sell, and letting the guys know that, like, we don't want to be cookie cutters of each other, right? You don't want to have 10 guys from the same wrestling school and they look identical when they do certain things, right? There has to be different mannerisms. You have to be selling a different way. There has to be a lot of differences in what's going on. You have to put your personal spin on different things. Your character is different from my character. My character sells differently. My character is affected differently from different things than your character is. So everybody can't be, it can't be a factory where we're all producing, replicas, duplicates of each other. Everybody has to stand out in their own way, and we need to help guys find what their way to stand out is going to be and how they're going to be different from everybody else. And I think a huge way to be different from everyone else is to start selling. That's probably a huge way for you to stand out from everybody else, is you be the person that sells and everybody else is Superman.
What's your move set? Could you tell me your move set, please? It's tough sometimes to ask somebody. You're like, what do you got? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do? And I always hear the moves, especially still doing this, called back to me in like the actual wrestling format of it, like today's format. They're like, oh, I'm gonna hit you with a fucking double Mackie shaker. So you know what I mean? Like they'll just double Mackie shaker. I'm gonna hit you with a whitewash or something like that. And I'm like, the fuck is that? They're like, oh, I'm gonna boot you off the apron. You're like, oh. When you booted Jeffrey Excellence off the apron through the table, saw that, which looked great, by the way. I had a great view laying down there watching him fall. Best seat in the house, laying down too on the job. But I'm pretty sure you told him you were gonna big boot him through the table. Now I'm gonna hit you with the boot, and you're gonna go through the table. Like, I'm a whitewash you off there. I'm gonna hit you on my face paint.
I should have told him what the move was called, right? It's not just the big boot. It's the colossal kick or something, right?
Yeah, Big Daddy Cool Diesel kick or whatever, man. It's like, no, I just want to know what you do, man. Can you take a hip toss? Can you take a good backdrop? Do you know how to give one? Like, I need to know some simple things you do. Oh, you give a good arm drag? Do I got to collar you, or do you want me to do you around right here? What can you do? Can you do a sunset flip? Can you do a victory roll? What about a back? What about a belly to back? Can you throw Germans? Do you release it? Do you hold on and Brit? Like, what do you do? And everybody's just always telling me like their signature and their finisher. I don't really give too much of a shit what your finisher is because I know you're not going to go for it in the entire match. So when we go over the finish at the start, I'll just say, hey, what you got to look at the scenario here. It's like if you're a young wrestler getting a booking, tell them who am I wrestling and what are you looking for out of me that night? Even if there's no storyline moving forward, let's just be clear and concise here. Like, what are you looking for? Oh, and if he can't explain that to you, like, oh, I want you to come in and be the heel for our baby face and you're put him over. Oh, cool. Now I know who am I working? Okay, I'm working Johnny. Johnny's the baby. You want me to be the heel? All right, cool. I'm gonna call this thing. We're gonna get him over. All right, we'll get him over. What are you looking for? That's what you're really asking a promoter. If a promoter's like, hey, I want to use you, and then you just take the fucking booking and you show up and maybe there's a match graphic or maybe he tells you working, you should know what you're doing before you go. You know what I mean? You should know ask what's going on, man. Ask what's going on before you go out there, because I mean, I think that is the most negligent thing that can happen from a performer, an independent contractor, and the promoter is like, I was talking to you today and I had one of my guys asking me, hey, that I'm still wrestling this guy, baby, who's going, okay. Yeah, because he wants to know. He wants to know because he's coming all the way down he's driving all the way down there, and he would like to know who he's wrestling, and he would like to know what to expect out of this. And I think that's great because that means he's going to put some thought into like, oh, all right, this is what they want to see. I'm going over. I'm not going over. Okay, let's do this. And they go, well, you should be able to get out there and wrestle whoever you want, anytime, anywhere. That's where you were talking about earlier with the experience factor. Yes, if you have the experience, but our job to continue to have a job, to continue to have a business is you, the wrecking ball, me, primetime. We have to be able to go out there and elevate younger guys to help them learn and get them up the card. And if you, as a babyface, work with the heels and get, well, I mean, that's the thing too. I think we always talk about that. Should there be fresh guys in the business as heels? I mean, that's a new thing that we've run into here in the last decade, is where some guy in his first year of pro wrestling is a fucking heel. Well, he doesn't even know how to work as a babyface. He doesn't even know how to sell. I ran into the problem. We talk about it all the time. I think the most important thing for a young talent are battle royals, because it's just heat and selling and going over the top rope. And I believe the next step after that, or around the same level, is getting the dog shit beat out of you in less than 2 minutes. It's like everybody went down, a bunch of people went down to TNA to work tonight to set up the ring. And I'm thinking like, fuck, there's a bunch of people setting up a ring that don't normally set up a ring. That could be a little dangerous too. Hopefully someone's monitoring that and paying attention. But then I also look at it and I say, they just sent an email. I think the Nash and Annabelle and Mitch Valentine, I guess that a lot of the SPW guys are down, but they're just sending an email to I guess Johnny Bravo or something, a guy named Johnny Bravo. And it's like, nobody's asking for footage. I think they asked Annabelle, because she was a girl, for a picture, which if somebody was to just send me a picture of themselves and a fucking highlight reel, I would not even look at it. And that's my company. I want to see 5 minutes, man. I want to see 5 minutes of you beating up on somebody if you're a bad guy, so I know if you can throw good heat and know how to work as a bad guy. Or I want to see 5 minutes of you fucking selling and trying to pull yourself up and not die. I want to see you selling or throwing heat and how you move around the ring. Nobody's going to send me a fucking picture and I'm going to go, yep, you're booked. So why is this bigger company okay with just an email? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Where did we come from, Paul? We came from an era where you had to they had to physically see you. All of you. The whole package, the resume, you're big on the resume, I'm not. It's crazy. It's crazy what the business has turned into.
Well, I mean, there definitely was the, 8x10 resume, 5-minute match, 1-minute promo. I remember that for years and years and years. I felt like that was the standard. Here's what I want to know about you. How tall are you? How much do you weigh? Where you train? Where you working? Where do you fly out of? Whatever it is. 5-minute match, 1-minute promo, 8x10, whatever it was. That was the standard. That's what you needed to have because they wanted to see if you could work, just like you just said. Can you sell? Can you throw heat? Can you work the crowd? Like, what does your character look like? Right, all those things. But getting back to guys wanting to know who they're working prior to a show. I mean, I think that's of the utmost importance because it's an opportunity for you to go, who am I working with? Especially younger guys that are asking these questions. Who am I working with? Maybe I can watch some of their stuff, right? How can I counter something that they do? How can they counter something I do? Like, how can we make something work together? What does their character look like? How does my character feed off of that character? What kind of a story can we tell? You have all these, you have guys asking good questions, and hopefully that's the reason behind it. That's what they're trying to get to is I want to know who the guy I'm working with is, so I can take a look at what he's done, what his style is like, how can our styles mesh? How can they contrast? Like what can we do together? What type of story can we tell? And it's all about having a good match for the fans, right? How can I get the fans to buy a ticket for the next show and come back? Like, what can we do together that's going to elicit a reaction, get some sort of, feelings? How can I, get emotionally attached to what's going on, right? I want to know these things. So, having the younger guys asking those questions is, I think, always a positive where you go, hey, this person gives a shit. They want to have a good outing. So, hearing when that happens is always exciting, and hopefully when you have that, you see the results in the product that they put together because they put some thought into it, and these are the things that we can do together, the way that we can our styles can clash or mesh or whatever it is.
Well, I mean, you can tell a lot. I don't need you might be able to bypass me for a minute. Like, I can usually tell when someone walks in the building what they got just by their walk, just the way they carry themselves. And then you make it to the ring. Okay. Now let me see you get in the ring. I can tell a lot by the way you get in the ring, a lot. And then a big question, I learned it from Roland, man, because we'd always have guys show up and say they were wrestlers, and you always throw me in the fucking ring with these guys. Remember at the pro camps, and he'd be like, reverse arm drag or something like that. And the guy would fire, and I'd be like, you ain't taking me over. I'm like, why aren't you letting him do it to your prime time? And I'd be like, MPT. And I'm like, because he don't know what he's fucking doing. You know that. I know that. I'm not going to take a bill for this fucking moron who doesn't even know that I'm supposed to take a bill. You know what I mean? But you have to look at it and you have to say, okay, you have to be able to read these guys. One of the biggest reads For me, ladies and gentlemen, 5 minutes remain in this unbelievable podcast. If I see a guy get in the ring and just start running the ropes, that is somebody that doesn't know shit. I'm serious. I'll run the ropes, but I'm going to go over there and I'm going to check them out. And I'm going to lean into them and walk over to the other and lean into it. And I'm going to do that on all four. And then I'm going to pull on them a little bit. I'm going to grab and turn myself into the corners and check them out. Before I would even, then I'm going to run around the ring a little bit straight in the corners to make sure that the wood and there's no separation in the. And once I've established that the ropes are connected well, all four of them, and all four corners are fine. And even if there is a divot, I know where everything is, running corner to corner and rope to rope. Then I will take off and run the ropes. Do you know how many guys I see get in the ring and I'll be leaning on the ring like this at a show, my show, your show, every fucking show, and they just like hop on in the ring like all energetic and whoo, and I'm like, dipshit. I pray it breaks and you fucking disappear and land on the ground. Like, check the equipment, man. That's a long fall. Even if it's a low boy, that's a terrible fall to take. Turning your back into something, like there's not even 3 points of contact. A lot of these guys, there's 2 points of contact with their fucking back turned. You know, these guys that are turned around and everyone, you know, a lot of the guys grab their left hand like luchadors on the rope now. And I'm like, if that motherfucking rope snaps like that with your back turned in going like this and grabbing this, what are you grabbing on the way down? If the top rope snaps, your left hand's going to fucking be holding onto a rope as your feet go fucking swinging up and you whack your head on the fucking side apron, which usually doesn't have the proper padding to fucking cover it. And if the fucking middle rope snaps while you're grabbing it, you're going to come underneath. You're going to disappear through the middle. The backs of your heels are going to catch the bottom rope and you're going to fucking whack your fucking head on the top cable. My favorite's when they do this number, when they're running the ropes and then they get under the rope and they come back and their head snaps off the top rope. And they're like, oh, God, I broke my nose, or I got this big fucking hose cable mark across here. Especially if it's real manila hemp rope, that shit just fucking eats your fucking back up. Eats it up. Like, this shit is dangerous. You know how I teach my guys to hit corners and fucking ram their head into the buckle? I show them how to do it, and then I say, I'm gonna ram your head in this buckle. Or I'm going to shoot you in this buckle. This is how you need to sell it. If you don't sell it right, I'm going to remove the buckle. And I'm going to ram your head into that fucking round hook that's fucking tightly pulling on that fucking rope. You think you can sell it then? If I fucking sock you in the gut as hard as I can or throw my knee into your gut, you think you might be out of breath? Like I asked someone the other day in the class, the guy was just fucking, but I'm like, hey, who here has ever had the wind knocked out of him? And sure enough, this moron raised his hand. And I'm looking around the room and then I just hit this guy right in the gut, right? I hit this kid right in the gut. And he went down and he's going, oh, oh, oh. And I got my hand on his back and I'm like, all right. Let me know when you can breathe. And he goes, oh. I'm like, that's how you sell getting the wind knocked out of you. Good job. You know?
That's exactly right, man.
Yeah. We going a little over crunch time right here or what, man? I'm in the zone, baby.
I know you're getting all hyped up and what have you. Yeah.
We got Living the Dream this Friday, grand opening, and then baby, next day, we got another Living the Dream, the old last call up there, man. And you know what? I'm back-to-backers like this. I'm pretty pumped, man. I'm going to go into my weekend and enjoy this shit. Hopefully, a lot of people come out and I get to see some new raw talent.
Well, there's definitely been a lot of good feedback and a lot of people reaching out. So I do have a good feeling that we're going to have a big turnout for that. So that should be a good opportunity for uh, guys to give it a shot, man. See if they got what it takes to get in the wrestling business. And it's always the way to try to you get some people that come out that you've never seen before, or you know and hopefully you get some athletes. I know you always talk about that with us is how do you find these athletes, and then all of a sudden you get a Jalen Love, and then you realize how you get these athletes. They find you somehow, right? So hopefully we've got some of that. We got the show Saturday afterwards at 3:00. Back to the Excel Christian, man, back home again. So I know they're excited to have us back there. So that's going to be good. And then we just follow it up, man, by the Run of Mucka, the 2-day festival.
So 3-day for us, man.
I know you guys are going to be there for 3 of them.
What day do you get there?
I'm sure I'll get there on Saturday.
Maybe
late Friday. I don't know.
Yeah, late Friday. Let's plan for late Friday.
Late Friday. Let's get
late
there.
Friday. Late Friday at Buster Posey's, baby. Well, Butch Cassidy.
Butch Cassidy's, yeah.
And then we'll head on over to Norm. Sometimes you want to go where everybody, and like you said, come out the closet, boys. We got Living the Dream on Friday and the last call on Saturday. It's time to come out the closet. 10 closet doors, and you're broken through 9 of them. Let's go, baby. Let's get it done, baby. Come on, baby. Hey, Paul, if you think we're talking about you,
we definitely are. We definitely are talking about you, if that's what you think.
Yeah, come on. I was looking for a little go team go on this motherfucker. We got a lot coming up, man. This is an informative podcast for everybody out there. Hit that subscribe button. Most importantly, this isn't us saying that there ain't a lot of talent out there, because there's a lot of fucking talent out there. It's about getting the right talent to do the right thing. Developing a professional wrestler is probably the hardest thing you can do. That's why there's so many people don't make it. It's a low percentage, especially in this business. For the Wrecking Ball, Paul Isadora, for Zach Primetime Reeb, we'd like to tell you all we are going over.